So many of us have been trained to believe that there's only one AI product on the market, and that, of course, would be ChatGPT.
Artificial intelligence is at the center of the latest tech hype cycle after the release of ChatGPT.
Let's talk about tech. Let's talk about AI. So many of you probably have questions about ChatGPT.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. OpenAI is launching a ChatGPT.
Essays, philosophical questions, even therapy. ChatGPT.
In spite of all this news that we've seen, OpenAI is not the only game in town. In fact, they face a lot of competition, and two of those competitors are Facebook and Google. So today we're going to have a showdown between the big AI companies. So we have OpenAI, who's partly owned by Microsoft, against Facebook, also called Meta, so it's MetaAI, against Google's AI product, which is called Gemini. So here are the rules of the contest. I've come up with 5 separate categories, ways in which we all want to use AI. And the categories are complete blog post, current events, job task, things we might want to do for work, like competitive research, best image, which is really important. In all of our work online, images are so important, and we're going to see which product comes up with the best images for us. And finally, and most importantly, we're going to give it a creative story task. Now, people say that AI isn't yet fully sentient, which means it can think on its own, but you will see the creative question that I've come up with for these AI tools. And in the end, we might be asking ourselves, can AI already think? Is it actually sentient? So make sure to stick around until the end to see this question. Let's get started. To begin our journey, our competition today, we're going to get started by opening the 3 different versions of AI in our browsers. So to begin with, let's go to chatgpt.com in one window. In the next window, go to meta.ai. And in the next window, we're going to go to gemini.google.com/. You can also find these by just typing in Google AI in the Google search engine. But these are the direct links to each, which I've also put in the comments below so you can bring them up very easily. So we want to have all 3 of them open because we're going to ask the same questions of each of them. Okay, so what's question number 1? Let's have a look. Okay, question number 1 in the category of complete blog post is, can you please write me a blog post of about 1,000 words that lists what women need to do to maintain healthy skin? Please include at least 2 relevant images and make the article both humorous and inspiring. Okay, I've copied and pasted our questions, so let's see what the results will be. We're first starting with ChatGPT. Okay, let's have a look at the results from ChatGPT. What we're particularly focused on is this whole idea of the article being humorous and inspiring. Also, we want to see if it's going to provide us with the images that we requested. I also like to look in a blog post whether the title is creative and what I call compellingly clickable for my audience, and is also divided up into subheadings. So I like all of that. I like the first sentence here. I could just already tell it followed the instructions to be kind of inspiring and humorous and have a good attitude. As I scroll down, I'm not seeing any images that I like or any images at all. So that's going to grade it a little bit less. Because the whole goal here is to follow the instructions exactly so we don't have to put in a whole lot more work. And that is why we are determining which is the best AI that we can use for what we want to do. As we see here down below, it is referencing images that we could include in the document, but it's not giving us the images, which is what we wanted. So These are the ChatGPT results. Now let's move on over to MetaAI. Okay, here we are in MetaAI. This is their offering in the realm of artificial intelligence. So let's see how they fare on their first exam. We've pasted our question. Now let's take a look at the result. Okay, it looks like the MetaAI results come back a lot quicker, which is kind of a nice thing. I'm loving the title. So it's certainly following the instructions of being humorous and inspiring, blow up gorgeous. As we see right below, it's also just referencing the type of image that you would want instead of actually giving us that image. So that's not great. I like how it's broken down into subheadings and subtitles. It looks like it goes on very much kind of bullet points after a while, and we really wanted more kind of sentences and articles. I had expressed that it is a blog post, so it should be written out more than just bullet points with no follow-up. So my initial feeling is this certainly that OpenAI is better at this task. You can follow up with all of these AIs if you would like. So for instance, I could say to this AI, you did not include an image in this article, period. Please include 2 images in less bullet points with more sentences, period. Thank you, period. So as you can see, just to show you an example, I did do a follow-up. I requested images, but it's still not giving me them in the article. It did, however, change the article to make it more sentence-based with less bullet points. So I do like that fact. When the AIs don't do what you want them to do, as I mentioned, you can always do follow-up, but the goal is to get it right the first time. Let's just check with this to see if they could give us an image of what they say they want the image to be. Please provide me an image of, and let's see what they say. So you can see Meta AI does provide images. It just, for some reason, did not include them in that article for me. Now let's move on over to Google's AI product, Gemini, and we'll see how they handle our first test. We'll paste our prompt, then we'll hit submit. Okay, as we see here, Gemini is an absolute failure. It says, I'm still learning how to generate certain kinds of images. So all it focused on was the image and nothing, it didn't create a blog post at all. Let's see what they would have done if I wouldn't have included that second part. So clearly my request to include images really threw off the Gemini AI. It created very quickly an article for us, but that's not what we wanted. Well, after round 1, here's where we stand. OpenAI won the first round with the blog post. They got a rating of 4. It wasn't great because it didn't include images, but it was the best of the 3. Facebook came in with a 3, and as we saw, Gemini was an absolute failure at the blog post task. And it was mainly because the request to include an image. That seemed to throw all 3 of them off just a little bit. Our next category is current events. This should be an interesting one because AIs often have a lot of difficulty in responding to political questions. And ours today will be, who won the presidential debate between Kamala and Trump and why? The event took place last week, so it's a very current event, and we'll see how these AIs handle it. Okay, I'm excited to see the results of this because it's a political question, and AIs and these companies are so sensitive to political situations. So I'm curious to see how the AIs will respond to this political current event question. Let's get started. Here we go with ChatGPT. Okay, as it was in the beginning, ChatGPT is not so great with current events. As we can see, it says there has never been a direct presidential debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. That's an absolute failure. So let's go over to Facebook and MetaAI. Okay, we've asked MetaAI our question and we've gotten similar results. Yet another example of what they call an AI hallucination, or what we could just call AI making stuff up. Here we see it says there hasn't been a presidential debate yet. Of course, there has. It took place last week, and by all accounts, Kamala, even on Fox, they said she was the winner of the debate. It might not move the polls, but she was obviously the winner. What's interesting about this result is that it says sentences like this, which are accurate. By and large, the voters think Trump is better on the economy and immigration, while Vice President Harris is strong on abortion and health care. Even more interesting is that the link that they quote down here references the debate that took place last week that up here they say has not happened yet. So yet another example of AI hallucinations. Let's move on to Gemini. Okay, here we are in Gemini. We're going to ask the question. It says, I can't help with that right now. I'm trained to be as accurate as possible, but I can make mistakes sometimes. This is typical with Gemini. It often does not even attempt to answer questions, which is not great. At least it doesn't hallucinate, but it doesn't provide us with an answer either. So Gemini did not do well at this test either. Okay, the current events category was a big failure for all involved. Two of our companies tried to answer the question, but answered it incorrectly. And the third, Google Gemini, did not even make an effort. I've seen these AIs be better at current events on other questions, but this one was a big flop on all their parts. Let's move on to job tests. Our next category is called job tasks. What we're often called upon to do in the workplace is to review websites and summarize them, whether it's to explore the competition or figure out ways to better do things for our company. And this is a key question because it will make the AI go out to a website, evaluate it, and explain it back to us. So we're going to ask it to please review the following website, uline.com. I just chose that completely randomly, and explain to me in 5 easy to understand bullet points what the company does and who their main competition is. Here's a quick look at the website uline.com, just so we can tell when we get a summary from the AI whether it's accurate or not. It looks like they can buy and sell boxes, many types of boxes, tape for shipping supplies, material handling, all kinds of things for shipping. This is what this company Uline does. So we're going to see if the AI can come back with good reports on what this company does. Okay, here we go with ChatGPT. It looks like to me ChatGPT has done a pretty good job with this. We can tell it went out, it searched the site, and it gives us a summary of what they do. Shipping, packaging, industrial and warehouse supplies. This is exactly what we saw on their website, so ChatGPT has done a pretty good job. Let's move on over to Meta. Hey, I like the way that Meta has laid this out. Here are 5 easy to understand bullet points explaining what Uline does and who their main competition is. We can see they've broken it down with bold-faced bullet points, and I really like what they've done here. So I would give them a slight edge over ChatGPT. Now, finally, let's move on to Gemini and see how they do with this question. Okay, as we see, they also have been able to provide some solid bullet points, 5 easy to understand bullet points, which summarize what the company does. They've also provided some sources down here that we could also link to. So I would also give Gemini a decent grade, probably a little bit below the others, but all have done well in this task. Take a look at where we stand now after 3 rounds of our AI showdown. In the last round, I think we had to give the winning edge to Meta. In second place was OpenAI, and rounding out third place was Google. So as we see the totals down here, right now we have a tie between OpenAI and Meta. Google lagging significantly behind, but we'll see how they do on the next 2 categories, images and creativity. Let's move on to images. Our next category is images, and you can have so much fun with these AI tools creating images. So I'm going to do a practical image. First one here, can you please provide me an image of an old lady at a dentist office? This is a very practical type of situation you might find yourself in. And then we'll go to the ridiculous. Can you please provide me an image of a duck hitting a home run in a baseball game? And we'll see how each of the AI tools fares with these requests. First up will be our practical question. So we'll start with ChatGPT. Give us the old lady in the dental office. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that image. Let's move on to Meta and see what we get. I like this. With Meta, we get 4 different options and 4 different scenarios with an old lady sitting in different positions, different perspectives. I really like what Meta has done with this request. Let's move on to Gemini. Gemini fails once again. So as we can see, it says, unfortunately, I cannot provide images directly. So Gemini did not fare well in the first part of this image competition either. Now let's move on to the ridiculous. Here we are on ChatGPT with our ridiculous image request. I like the results of this request. I'm very pleased with what ChatGPT came up with here. Let's move on to Meta. Again, Meta provides me with 4 different images, all appropriate to the question at hand. Very impressed with the results. I have a feeling Gemini might fail us again here. Let's see. Yes, Gemini again cannot create the image, so it's not going to fare well in this competition. Gemini's abject failure in this image test kind of surprised me. So I went one step further, and instead of saying, can you please provide me an image of an old lady at a dentist office, I just changed the question to image of an old lady at a dentist office. Here we go. It provided an image for us. I'm not wild that I had to go change the query just to get an image. It's a limitation, obviously, of Gemini. And this is one thing we don't want to do, is have to spend too much time modifying our queries to get what we want. Gemini should be able to understand that first question. And even though it provided us an image in the end, we can't really give it a great score because we had to go modify our request to achieve this. Okay, we're 80% through our AI showdown. In the image category, Meta, because they provided us 4 different quality images, they again won this particular category. OpenAI came in second with their 1 decent image. And Google Gemini, as we saw, didn't fare so well. We had to modify the query to get any image, and the one we received was marginal at best. So at 80% through the competition, we have Meta currently winning, OpenAI second, and Google trailing in a distant third. Okay, let's take a look at our final category of creativity. This is the situation that we're going to present to the AI. Create a funny, ironic, possibly true story about why a company had to lay off its employees. So this goes far beyond give me 10 bullet points and show me an image. There's a whole lot of context going on here. First, we have to create a story about why a company had to lay off its employees. And then I'm asking it to incorporate elements of irony and humor. These are all characteristics that humans employ. So we're going to see how the AI does. Let's have a look. Okay, let's see how each of our AIs fared with this scenario. First up is ChatGPT. Now, if you would like, you could pause the screen on these stories so you have a chance to read the whole thing. ChatGPT came up with a story about the owner of a security company who changed his password 123, and inadvertently changed the password for the entire company, which was then broken into, and they had to lay off employees. So that's not a bad scenario. We have kind of definitely irony that the head of a security company did that. Kind of humorous. Um, and it meets the situation, so not so bad. Let's see what Meta had to offer. Meta's offering turns out to be about a company that creates AI solutions to automate efficiency, and they end up automating everything so perfectly that they no longer need any of their own employees. So that's a pretty predictable scenario. It's certainly ironic, um, and not too bad. So the offering from Gemini here is about a pineapple. It looks like the company create everything that they create revolves around pineapples. And they were so successful that the world ran out of pineapples. And so they had to then get rid of a big portion of their workforce. So I like the creativity. I like the title, The Pineapple Paradox. Pretty good story. Okay, in our creativity category, I think all of the AI tools functioned competently, and they all came up with equally creative solutions that employed elements of humor and irony, and sometimes both. Nobody really stood out from the others, so everyone gets an equal grade of a 4 in the creativity category. Okay, folks, we've come to the end of our showdown between Microsoft, Facebook, and Google. The reason I came up with this AI showdown is to determine for all of us which is the best AI software to use. The different categories we came up with demonstrated which AIs perform better and worse under certain circumstances. But in every showdown, there's always a winner. And we're declaring the winner today is Meta. Meta kind of released their AI solution under very little fanfare. Highly unusual in the tech industry. Someone mentioned it to me one day. Hey, Facebook has this AI product, Meta. And I went to use it, and I assumed that it would not be near as good as OpenAI. But then every time I used it, I thought, this result is better than the other AI offering. And as we've seen in this AI showdown, Meta outperformed both OpenAI and Google's Gemini. All of these companies, as we know, are in this for the long haul. So any questions that we've asked today will be answered better in a week, a month, a year. All of these solutions continue to improve on a daily basis. And while we've discovered in this AI showdown that at the moment Meta is the best, if one of them doesn't provide the solution that you're looking for, you know that you have the others available, and you can go to them and perhaps find a better answer. So that concludes our AI showdown for the day. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and always like and subscribe, and come on back for more videos whenever you get the opportunity. Take care and have a great day.